You are Locked On Chargers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into the Locked On Chargers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007. He is Kenyon Barner, 9 years in the league and a Big Ten champion, Oregon Duck. That's pretty weird right there, man. To say that they win the Big Ten championship. We'll talk about that later. We are here today to talk about the Chargers, a game against the Chiefs in Kansas City that went pretty much how I think all of us thought it was going to go. That game was not the least bit surprising in the end. I predicted 19-17, but I predicted the Chargers to win it. So I guess that was close. I was close. And I feel like just the first time around against the Chiefs, Charger fans were like, hey, we didn't get blown out. It wasn't ugly. We were in there right until the very end. So we'll talk about what was so terrible in the first half, what went well in the second half, and we'll just heap some praise on the Chiefs like everyone else is doing. And now also I want to talk about this, Kenyon, whether or not we're sick of this yet, because it's hard to be. I'm sick of it, but at the same time, you can't help but respect it. It's so freaking good. It is, as Collinsworth put it, it is a masterclass in football. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Postcast brought to you by Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. To get started, use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL. You can win $50 instantly when you play your first $5. So what was your final sort of takeaway from this game? Obviously, the second half, the Chargers got it going and it looked pretty good. But at the end of the day, the 2-minute drill for the Chiefs is just too much. They are just so good at that 2-minute drill. They sucked the life out of 4.5 minutes and kicked a walk-off field goal. I mean, were you the least bit surprised that is exactly the way it was going to go?
No. And just look at the season that they've been having all season long. It's been close games, very close games that they've been squeaking out. But I've been saying this for a while now. Pat Mahomes, when it comes to execution and when it comes to winning, is this generation's Tom Brady. You don't want that dude to have the ball with any time left on the clock. If there's any time at all, that's too much. And each time you leave an opportunity, he makes teams pay. And today was no different.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've had as they say, an A full of the Chiefs. But I'm not that guy that's like a hater. Back in the day when I was a lot younger, I hated I still am not a Niners fan because I'm SoCal. I still don't like the Niners. But you're a Niners fan.
Absolutely. I grew up before. I grew up a 49er fan.
No chance. No, I mean, all of that Steve Young to Jerry Rice was just, it's great. It's
too much for you, huh?
Too much. As a kid, before I knew better, I was a Cowboy fan, and it was always Niners and Cowboys in the NFC Championship, and it was just, they would just beat you with execution because they were better, and they deserve to win the game. But, and it's what makes sports great. You have to have an antagonist and a protagonist. And right now, for most people, the antagonist is the Chiefs, right? There are a bunch of people that are jumping on the bandwagon, all the Swifties, and my wife's middle son's my wife's son's mother-in-law. She's from California. Oh, I'm a Chiefs fan. Really? Like, since when?
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
But there's a lot of people that are like all into the Chiefs now all of a sudden, which is convenient because they're good. But you watch this team and you kind of hope that your team can, figure out a way to, because they're not invincible. They're just very, very good. You just, you hope that they can figure out a way to kind of squeak one out, steal one, if you will. Tell me if you think this is a crazy scenario. I feel like the Chiefs are tougher to beat on primetime football. If you can steal one from them on a Sunday at 1, you have a much better time than when it's Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or even Thursday Night Football. For whatever reason, that group, led by Mahomes, gets up for primetime games. Is that crazy?
No, that's not crazy. I'm actually in my mind trying to think about the last time I can remember them losing in a primetime game. It's rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't really lose. Those are the games that they get up for, and I think we talked about this maybe last week or a couple weeks ago about the spotlight being on you. They thrive in the spotlight.
Mhm.
That's what gets them going. It's an opportunity for the world to continue to see them. And what I kind of like what we were just talking about with the 49ers and even with Tom Brady, I think it's an opportunity to make more people hate them, and they enjoy that.
And they love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I love
watch
it.
this and I go, obviously they're an experienced group, but Pat Mahomes is great. There's no doubt. Like that guy is a football savant, and you could tell his confidence is pinned. It's as high as it can be. His execution is always as high as it can be. He very rarely makes a mistake. The Chargers were up in his business all day long, all night long,
Yeah.
and it didn't phase him. It didn't matter. It's like, whatever, next play, move on, turn the page, forget about that one, move on. And you brought this up last week. You have to have a short memory. And he had that all game long. You were looking at like the Chiefs were not getting to Herbert, and
No.
the Chargers were getting all up in Pat Mahomes' face, knocking him down, rushing, the whole deal. And he just kept, that's fine, whatever, next play, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going. And you could see that in the end, like his persistence paid off, as it always does.
That and the Chargers missed a lot of opportunities when
Yeah.
it came to sacking Pat. There was ample opportunities that they had, especially going towards the end of that game. And it was bad angles, bad tackling, where he just was able to sidestep guys, and especially on that last possession with the pass that he threw to Trav to basically
Day on
seal the
Henly.
game for him.
Day
Yeah,
on Henly. We have heaped
there was
praise and have loved him all season. And he was good for a lot of this game, led the Chargers in tackles, but missed the biggest one of the game. If he that wasn't a great move by Pat Mahomes.
no, it was slow, it was nonchalant. It was like, oh,
Right.
okay, you're out of I can see, okay, you're heavy over there. Okay, let me just step to the left just a little bit and complete this pass. But there was plenty. It was missed tackles, whether it be on P-Ron, the running back, missed tackles on him where he's able to extend. There was just a lot of missed tackles going towards the end of the game where you can't have that. You can't afford to have any sort of error when it comes to this Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid team, because they're going to make you pay.
Yeah, I agree.
Right
think
quick,
that
I
is
pulled that record up for you.
Yeah.
In primetime games, they're 85-23.
That's dominance right there. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that causes you to
Rare.
Yeah, that causes you to want to hate Pat Mahomes for that, because he's not very,
Oh, no, that's
nimble.
wrong.
Is that's
It
wrong?
might be right. It might. Let me show you what I'm looking. Can you see what I'm looking at? There we go.
Barely.
Okay.
It's a meme.
Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes record in primetime.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's dominance. Yeah, but the move that he made on Deion Henley was not a fantastic move. It was just a quick little sidestep, and I think Henley was overly aggressive, and he didn't need to be.
Aggressive. You hit the
Him
nail right on
there,
the
it is
head.
a different ball game. And that stat that they threw out about the streaks that the Chargers and the Chiefs are on is so remarkable. I'm gonna tease. I'm gonna leave it, and I'm gonna share this stat after the break, because it is mind-boggling, these two streaks that the Chargers and Chiefs are on in close games. It is unbelievable. Chiefs squeaked this one out. I mean, I guess when you look at the score, 19-17, to me, it never felt like it was, even when the Chargers were leading, I'm like, Chiefs are going to win. 19-17, the final in this one, a walk-off field goal to get their 12th win and stay perfect at home. So we'll get back to this one. He's Kenyon Barner. I'm Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communists. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever you want and tune in whenever you have time. You can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to Hillsdale College and do some self-improvement. Use the code LOCKEDON to enroll. It's hillsdale.edu/lockedon. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdalecollege.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Tonight's episode also brought to you by Prize Picks. Today's episode sponsored by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, whether it's football, basketball, or your favorite sport. Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. You know, getting involved with football or college football, specifically bowl games this time of year, definitely does make the season more festive. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, the holiday season, they're giving you $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas. I actually like that one, Pixmas, offering 2 free picks in December. So check it out. This week, I'm looking for Travis Kelce to go more than 70 yards. Did he do that tonight? Let's see. He had a pretty decent game. Nope, did not go for more than 70 yards. So good thing I didn't actually levy any selections on that one. So you get the idea of how it works. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks. Download the app, prizepicks.com, or use the website prizepicks.com and get started today. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Chargers fall. They're now 8-5. Chiefs wrap up the AFC West with the win. They'd already made a punch their ticket to the playoffs. They're 12-1, 7-0 in the at home. Here's the stat that they threw up that is just mind-boggling. The Chargers now, after this loss tonight, have lost 11 straight by fewer than 3 points. If the game is fewer than 3 points, the Chargers have lost 11 straight, while the Kansas City Chiefs have won 15 in a row, one-score games. That is dominance. It is an NFL record. I mean, it's unbelievable what they do, the scheme that they draw up for Patrick Mahomes to execute, which he does. And I'm not saying that he's a scheme guy. What I am saying is that he's a very good player and he has a very good coach and a very good coaching staff. I don't know. This Northwest says Chiefs getting all the breaks. Yes and no. They play
That's
better.
fair. That's fair. They play better.
Yeah.
But a lot of things do go the Chiefs' way. You know, I know we can't get fined for talking about refereeing, but a lot of things do seem to go their way. But this is a good football team. It's a good football team led by a great coach, led by an even better quarterback. And when you mesh those two together, these are the results that you get.
Here's Brandon's comment. I'm not going to lie. The second half made me feel a lot better about losing than it should have.
It really did.
Yeah. The plan for the second half gave me hope with the offense for the future and with Ladd McConkey as well. Yeah, Ladd was out. That was a big part of this game. Here's the positive for me in this game. The Chargers, once again, have been banged up all season long, seemingly, but they continue to be resilient and hang in there and play good football. Stone Smart, 3 catches for 55 yards after Will Dissly left with an injury. Yeah. So they have continued to kind of say next man up. And it feels like, that's not something we're used to seeing from this team. Usually when they're hurt, it's bad. It's just like they can't get out of their own way and it's ugly. And the next man up situation hasn't really paid off all that well. So with Ladd out, both Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston had good games, and that was nice to see.
Shout out to Quentin. After his last couple of games struggling a little bit, it was really nice to see him kind of get going, catch some balls, get downfield, use that speed, especially picking up that long first down that he had. I think it was maybe 3rd and 18, I think it was. He caught one up the sideline and actually ran the corner over. So I was happy to see that. And then going back to Smart, I liked seeing him out there. He looked smooth. He looked natural. He looked comfortable. So I'm hoping maybe we'll get to see him more. He looks like a more a what would I want to say? He looks like a traditional pass catching route running tight end, whereas we know Will Dissly to be the blocker, the more physical guy. But he looked really good out there today.
Brandon agrees. That I don't know if this is the one you were talking about, but Quentin Johnston had a huge first down. It was a third down reception for a first down, and he took a big hit and held onto the ball. That was nice to see. And I have to give you credit for this one because I was screaming at the TV in the first half. You got to give the ball to Gus Edwards more. I don't know how many carries he had in the first half, and in the end, it wasn't great. Yeah, not enough. In the end, it wasn't great, but it was much, much better in the second half. He finished the day 10 for 36. And I think, like you said last week, if they'd have given him the ball more, it would have been a different game. Because as I put in the notes on today's show, the Chargers were getting killed because they had no running game in the first half. Vidal couldn't do anything. Gus Edwards couldn't do anything. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact they weren't giving him the ball enough, because in the second half, he was figuring out a way to get some yards, and he didn't have a big day. 10 for 36 is not huge, but the game plan, I think, coming out of the locker room said, Jim Harbaugh, we're going to stay aggressive on the ground. We need to be aggressive. And they were, and it worked out. So that was a big part of the comeback in the second half for the Chargers.
And to that, at the end of, because I wanted to see what the rushing attempts look like at the end of the first half, Heineke led the team with 1 carry for 12 yards, and Gus Edwards has, I believe it was maybe 4 for 6 yards. And then right above him was Herbie. But like you said, when you let a guy like Gus, is not a guy where you can just throw him in a spot. You have to allow that motor to get going. And we've seen that in the second half. The more you give him the ball, the more he gets comfortable, the more yards he gains. It's a confidence thing. You just have to give that guy the ball. And again, this is a Greg Roman guy. He knows this. He knows him. He knows him very well. So I don't understand why there's a lack in that area, especially again with JK not being there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big omission. It doesn't make any sense. Missing JK is huge for them. But I think it is also interesting to note that, as Collinsworth pointed out, this Charger team does not throw the ball to their backs very much. And he was kind of confused as to why that is the case. And I think I am too. I'm not saying they need to rely.
We've been talking about that. We've been talking about all season long. I think it was maybe week 1 or week 2, I was talking about them using JK out of the backfield because he is a pass catcher. Gus Edwards can catch the ball. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why there's a lack or even an attempt. It's like they don't even attempt to use their backs out of the backfield. That you become a more dangerous offense when your backs are more than just one dimensional, when they're more than just a guy that you can hand the ball to. There's more to worry about from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, I just think it's not a scheme that Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh are super familiar with for whatever reason. I don't know. It seems like they just don't want to do it. At some point, I feel like they're smart enough to realize they're going to have to, because it's going to be necessity.
Do you? I mean, we're almost through the season.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you're running game, when JK is out and you don't have a bell cow back there, you got to get the ball to the guy in the backfield somehow, right?
Yeah.
And if they're feeling like we don't want to give it to him a lot in the first half for whatever reason, wouldn't they just aren't they necessitated to do it at some point in time? Because you can't just rely on, it's not going to work. And look, I'm no football genius, but I know the game. You can't just throw the ball, right? You can't win games at the NFL level just throwing the ball. Herbert's a great thrower. We know that, but he can't do it all. And it's just not going to work. I mean, the Chiefs defense is not great. They're good, but they're not great. There were plenty of opportunities today. So again, I feel like the reason things turned around in the second half was because they had a balanced attack, and that's their whole deal. Right?
Yes.
The opportunity to run the ball because for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe we're overthinking it, and they're like, "Well, Gus Edwards wasn't successful in the first half." Well, that's because you didn't give him the ball, So
4 carries in the first half. That's 2 quarters with that's basically 2 carries a quarter. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, Vidal's a rookie. Can he catch? I'm sure he can catch the ball, right? I mean,
I don't know enough about him to give an opinion on that. I would, I would hope, I would think, but I can speak to Gus because I was in Baltimore with him. I can speak to that. I can speak to JK. Something has to give, something has to change, and you would think it would, but it just hasn't yet. I don't know what they're waiting on. I really don't.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the receiving core a little bit more after the break. We've gotten into the running back game. We'll also get into the Chiefs side of things from a rushing attack. So we talked about the Chargers rushing game. After the break, we're going to talk about the Chiefs rushing game and the Chargers receiving game, because there was a lot to feel good about there in spite of them losing this game 19-17. He's Kenyon Barner, Oregon Duck, Big Ten champions. They played a whole lot of defense in that game, did they?
None. Zero. Didn't show up.
That's the only time you can just throw the ball in college.
Did not show up at all.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit too after this. It's the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. All right, tonight's episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the game all in one place. Live bets are cool because they are right in the middle of the game. If you if you were betting live on this game against the Chargers and you were like, hey, the Chargers are winning, but I know the Chiefs are going to pull it out in the end, you could have made a live bet on that. And it would probably paid okay. It wouldn't have been great because I think everybody else knew that the Chiefs were going to win, especially the odds makers. But that's what's fun about live bets. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel.com. Join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So the Chiefs squeak it out on a walk-off field goal. Mahomes and Pacheco and Hunt's milking the clock, just, savoring that football, running it down. And I thought they still had a chance. I thought Jim Harbaugh did a pretty good job of managing the clock there at the end of the game. We heard a lot about what Pacheco brings to this team, and it was hard not to notice it. The guy is just fiery. I mean, he is aggressive and physical, and brings a lot of dimension to the Kansas City running game. And again, the thing that is interesting about this team to me is Pacheco's been out for a while injured, but they got Kareem Hunt and P run and everybody they throw in there. It's like the scheme is so good that they could just kind of pick up and fill the gap and everything's fine.
Listen, when you have a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, your running game is going to work. It's going to work because it's Pat Mahomes back there at the quarterback position. But when you look at these guys that they have, Kareem Hunt is a proven back. His days in Cleveland, he was phenomenal. So having him back there in Kansas City with them, you expect nothing different from him. And then as to what you were saying about Pacheco, he's a physical specimen. He's electric in his own way, in his own right. And when he's running the ball, he's punishing guys. He's moving piles by himself. He's getting those extra yards. They have a very, very good backfield, and a backfield that's going to help them when they make this playoff run.
As for the Chargers receiving corps, Josh Palmer had a good game. 6 catches for 78 yards, 6 of 9. You mentioned it earlier, and it's a good point. I don't want to harp on it, but I feel like the Chargers just had some bad drops, missed opportunities. They had plenty of time for Herbert to throw the ball, and they would get, nice catches on first down, second down, and then 3 and out, right? And then there was plenty of times where they would have a nice, I felt like Herbert today was not checking down all that well. It felt like after the first look, he was rushed, and a lot of that's on the line, but they were doing a pretty good job, at least in the first half. So when it got to the second half, I felt like the line wasn't giving him as much time, but he was still getting the ball off on the other side of that coin. In the first half, he had all kinds of time and couldn't find anybody. So I don't know if that's on Herbert, if that's on the receivers, if that's on the play call, but it did feel like there were just some missed opportunities there. Again, Palmer was 6 of 9 and Quentin Johnston 5 of 7. Stone Spark 3 of 3, and DJ Chark. A lot of people in the comments ask about DJ Chark. What's up with DJ Chark? Well, this was his first catch of the season. So there you go for you Chark
Shout
fans.
out to DJ. Shout out to DJ. Congratulations, my guy.
But Rager left early with an injury. Darius Davis, nice running. He had a nice returning, rather. He had one that got him out to the 40, but they went 3 and out. So they went 3 and out a lot. And I think that was a big part of why the Chargers lost this game. They just couldn't sustain any drives, especially in the first half. And then, that 2-minute drill, when they were holding them, it was 6-0, and it didn't feel like the Chargers were out of it. But then 13-0, it's a different ball game.
To them, third down is huge, and it's been huge all season long for the Chargers. We've kind of gone back and forth, being good on third down, not being good. Today they were 6 of 13. You can't win against the Kansas City Chiefs if you can't keep your offense on the field, because that's giving Pat Mahomes far too many opportunities to take his offense down the field and score the ball. I want to talk to Herbie and the lack of checking down. I can't, as a quarterback, you have to know where your check downs are, and you have to know that's your outlet. Oftentimes, that check down is a forgotten aspect of it. One person that was phenomenal was Tom Brady. Tom Brady would check that ball down in a heartbeat. He'd tell you, I'll take 5 yards every time and beat you. And so Herbie has to get to a point, again, it goes back if I'm focusing on the running backs and being in the passing game, you got to have faith in them to catch the ball. You have to know where they are. You have to trust them, because 2nd and 4 is a lot better than 2nd and 10. And so those are the type of things that will extend drives and keep you on the field and keep you and keep you ahead of the sticks. And a lot, like you said, a lot of times I feel like we're playing behind the sticks. Instead of it being 2nd and short, it's still 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 12. There has to be some slight tweaks, and I'm sure they'll come. I'm sure they'll go back and look at this film, and we'll see something different next week.
Yeah, they got to Pat Mahomes. They did a nice job sacking him 3 times for 8 yards. They sacked Herbert 3 times as well. I thought it was interesting on the touchdown pass to Quentin Johnston. He had Gus Edwards standing there wide open well. Yeah, so,
wide open.
That was a good feeling to have. Right, he's wide open. Oh, so is Johnston.
Okay,
cool.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I look at this game and I say, could have been worse. The Chargers are not 100% as we play the excuse game. Not having JK is a huge omission for them. And then the 2-minute drill for the Kansas City Chiefs is just too much to deal with. It's flawless. Yeah, it is. If they burn 4.5 minutes at the end of that game, and it's made it look easy.
It's really when you look at how they run their 2-minute, just focusing on this game, they ran that 2-minute offense like it was a 4-minute drill, just constantly milking the clock, still moving the ball forward, but milking the clock. It's when I watch this team in the 2 minutes, it looks as like this is all they practice, because they're so good at it. They are so good at this 2-minute drill. It's crazy. A lot of teams lose games because they can't execute in the 2-minute drill. Kansas City is just flawless at it.
What do you think about you canny suits comments in all caps? They can't keep getting away with it. Same script every game, Kansas City, with 2 laughy face emojis. I think they can keep getting away. Why would you go away from it? Yeah, clearly they can. They can. I'm sorry, not you canny, uncanny suit. Got it.
Uncanny.
Okay. Yeah, they, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is what they do. And it's clearly it is second nature to them. It's a reflex. They just make it look so easy. I don't think that they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, because I think when you get down to playoffs and it's ratcheted up, that I feel like somebody is going to best them, because they are just teetering on the brink for me, right?
I got a question for you.
I did my little hit in Kansas City today, and the way those guys described it was they were vulnerable, and they've been vulnerable for a while. They should have at least 2 losses. They should have lost the Denver game. They absolutely should have lost the game to the Chiefs last week to the Raiders, when the Raiders fumbled away a snap when they were in field goal range. So
it's the Raiders, though.
Yeah, exactly. They are beatable, but I feel like there are better teams out there, even though the Bills lost to the Rams today. What a crazy game that was. Puka Nacua for 160 yards.
Went crazy.
It feels like the Bills are better, and it definitely feels like the Lions are better. But again, these guys are the champs, and until you knock them off the hill, they are and should be the favorite. What's your question?
And how many times did we think the New England Patriots weren't good enough to win, and they turned right around it? You know what I'm saying? And then when you look at Kansas City, their last Super Bowl, I didn't think they were going to win it. I didn't think they weren't good enough all season long. It's going to be so hard to bet against Pat Mahomes when it comes to playoff football. It's just hard. Yes, there's better teams out there, but there's not another team that's better than the Kansas City Chiefs at executing situational football, and situational football is what wins you big games, and they do it at an elite level.
Yep. It's like professional golfers. They have that routine on every shot. They go through it religiously, no matter what the shot is or what the tournament is, because they want to have that routine locked in. So when it becomes a big moment, the routine is the same. And that's what the Chiefs do. That's exactly what they do. Their routine is so rehearsed and so successful that it doesn't matter if it is a relatively meaningless game against the Chargers on Sunday night or the Super Bowl, right? It's the same execution for them. I look at this again, this is for the Charger fans. I look at this game and I go, the Chargers are not as good as the Chiefs. Bottom line, they're banged up, and they're the first year with a new coach. They're figuring out a lot of things. They're not as good as the Chiefs, but they hung in there. So there is a lot to be encouraged about and feel like, all right, it's going to get better. They'll probably make the playoffs. So, look, it's not all doom and gloom for the Chargers after this loss. There's plenty to feel good about coming up against the Bucks next week. And then you got the Broncos, Patriots, Raiders. So, Bucks are good. Broncos next are okay. Yeah, next 2 are the 2 big ones, and the 2 easy ones at the end of the season. So, I feel like, they still have things to feel good about. And this one is not one where you're like, I need a 6-pack after this.
No, even though they lost this game, I went when they came out in the second half, I said, okay, now they're playing Charger football. Right. I thought they had a real shot at winning this game. But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It was the little mistakes. It was the little things that the little mistakes that they made that cost them the game. The missed tackles, the missed sacks, the opportunities to get Kansas City off the field. So to the Charger fans, you should feel as though this was a very winnable game, because it was. It was within their grasp. They just let it slip. This wasn't anything special that Kansas City did. They didn't do anything that made me say, oh yeah, this was never going to be a game that they could win. The Chargers didn't execute both offensively and defensively. They let a lot of little things slip, and when you slip on the little things cost you the game.
Yeah, Herbert had a good game, 21 of 30 for 213. As we said, Gus Edwards ran for just 36, but that was all just in the second half. So,
right.
If he does something even close to that in the first half, it's a different night for him. Palmer, a good game. Stone Smart, Quentin Johnston, all those guys had good games. And defensively, I thought it was nice to see Cam Hart back out there. Dayon Henly had a pretty good game. Yeah, that hit that he made on
DeAndre.
To dislodge the ball was that was like a runaway train. I mean, he just absolutely bulldozed him. He did that. Did he do that? Oh, Still that did it last week. So definitely something that is in the Chargers defensive repertoire, because they do it every week. Still another good game. Troy Dye, Molden, their defense is still good. Thule got a sack. So it feels like all in all, things are still trending in the right direction for this Charger team, even in spite of this loss. So next week, 125 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kenyon Barner still celebrating the Oregon Ducks Big Ten championship. Was there in Indianapolis all night long.
Yes.
Running on no sleep for you Charger fans. Give you guys some love. Well, congratulations on that. That's huge. I was thinking about you. We were at a restaurant/bar and it was on, and I was going to text you, but my fish and chips showed up. So
I don't blame you.
I'm like, he's probably not going to answer. I was going to be like, this is going to be my text to you. Hey, what are you doing? When it was like 38-34 in the first half.
Listen, it's crazy. No defense. This was terrible. Terrible performance by our defense. But shout out to Dylan Gabriel for showing up and balling out the way that he did.
Yeah. Are they going to win the national championship?
I believe they got a real good shot to.
Okay.
The path is hard, but I don't think they would have it any other way. I think the most consistent piece that you need in college football is at the quarterback spot, and they have the most consistent piece there. They have a really good defense. They have great pieces. This team can do it. Just don't beat yourself.
Yeah. All right, buddy. We'll get some sleep.
Will do.
We will convene again next Sunday. For Kenyon Barner, I'm Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. The place to hang out when every game is done. We appreciate you allowing us to be your source for your team every day. Have a good night.